Okay, I'm really happy to be here. We decided that I should speak English because maybe you don't understand Danish so well. So that's why I speak English, but if you prefer that I speak Danish, I can also do that. I can't speak Swedish though. So mostly I have been doing research on public innovation, so that will be my starting point for the lecture or for the keynote today. Last year I published a book together with 3 colleagues on public innovation, so this will be sort of my starting point for the lecture, more or less, the insights that we had from that book. And I have divided the keynote into 3 topics. I'll start by trying to define innovation. You already did that, but I think we might use this for the rest of the conference to have some idea about what is innovation and what is social innovation. Then I will talk about collaboration or co-creation, which I think is really, really important for innovation today. Most innovations are collaborative in one way or the other, either between people within a sector or across different sectors. And then I have something in the end here that I call assembly, which means that something which I think becomes interesting also for research is to know more about the different arenas where people come together and do social innovation and do experimental design and so on. So my first slide here is about innovation. Does it work? Yeah, it does. What is innovation? So, yeah, this is just a definition that I wrote myself in an article some years ago. That innovation, it has two sides. It's about developing new ideas, of course, but it's not just about developing new creative ideas. It's also about implementing these ideas in practice. So if you go back to, for example, Joseph Schumpeter, who is the father or the acclaimed father of innovation theory, his focus is pretty much on implementation of new ideas and how new ideas they can achieve economic impact and so on. So it's pretty much the hard work of realizing new ideas in practice and what it takes to do that, which is the focus of innovation theory, broadly speaking. And then it must also be it must be step changes, as we call it in the book that we have written. So it must, at least for those who are engaged, it must be something which can be recognized as something which is different or significantly different from what was before, in a way. And also it needs to have some kind of durability in order to count as innovation. It's not just a one-shot achievement that we do today and not repeat tomorrow. So it has to have some kind of durability over time for those who are engaged. And then I think it's really, really important also to emphasize that innovation is not the same as improvement or making things better. Even though if you ask, for example, public managers, they often stress sort of the normative aspect of innovation, that it's about making things better. But I think it's important to emphasize it can also be about making things worse in a way, or not doing much difference in a certain sense. It can be good for innovation, can be good for some, it can be bad for others. So it depends on the point of view. Therefore, my favorite expression of this is that innovation is always contested. It's a contested practice. And then if we look at, did it change? Yes, social innovation. You already defined it very well, I think. It's about addressing not just sort of commercial problems, but social problems. Some authors, they speak about unmet needs. It's a Belgian researcher, Mullard. He speaks a lot about the unmet needs that the market or the public sector cannot meet. So we need some kind of social innovation to meet those unmet needs. And it's about creating value for society, you could say. It's not just for individual persons or individual groups. It's about creating social value. Of course, this immediately then raises the question of what is social value then, which is a very complicated concept, and which is probably also something which is contested and debated and discussed among innovators and society and so on. Sometimes innovations are developed by organization whose purpose is has a social purpose, socio-economic companies and so on, who has a specific social purpose. This is actually a big discussion amongst some researchers, whether innovation can only be made by companies that have a social purpose, or whether it can also be made by public companies and private sector companies. But I just limit it to say that sometimes it's made by companies that have a social purpose. And then, as you also stressed, social innovation is social not just in its purpose in a way, but also in its process. Often we consider social innovation to be participatory in some cases, and it creates social relations amongst those who are targeted by social innovation. Here's an example that I have been following for some years. It's a nursing home for people with dementia. It's in Norway, Bærum, south of Oslo, where they for many years have been trying to set up a new nursing home that they call a dementia village, where people with dementia can live a life which is similar to the life that they lived before they had the disease of dementia. And you could say that this illustrates in a way that innovation is also, it's a combination. That's what Schumpeter said. It's a combination, new combinations of society's productive means. So this is also what innovation often is, that you combine things that are already there. You don't have to invent things, everything from scratch. So in this case, with this dementia home, you could say that it combines being in a way it's like a hotel. It reminds a little bit of a hotel when you enter the dementia home, because there's a reception and people welcoming you, but it's also, of course, it's a hospital. It has facilities for health care. And so it reminds a little bit of a hospital. It's also regulated as kind of a hospital facility. It's different from Denmark, by the way, where it's not regulated in the same way. And then it's also it's of course a home for those who live there. So they try to combine these three different aspects and develop it into a dementia home, which I would say is kind of an innovation. It's a social innovation, or it's also a public innovation in this case, because it's the public sector who is also behind this. Okay, collaboration is the next big word. So the starting point here is that innovations today they are often, sometimes it's called complex innovations that address sort of complex problems, like, for example, we can speak of the climate, we can speak of healthcare, education, refugees, the homeless, and so on and so forth. And these problems, they do not have sort of a root cause. They have many causes, you could say. So they are really difficult to tackle or to solve. So this is sort of, I think, something which is really important, that the problems that innovations address, they are complex problems. And of course, innovation is one way of tackling these issues. It's not always necessary to develop new innovative solutions. Sometimes you can recurse to what was before to deal with problems. For example, in education, we had Corona, where we did everything online, and now we are recursing to old style teaching in order also to solve some of the problems of loneliness and so on that have been emerging during the Corona crisis. But that's not innovation. It's just that we are doing what we did before, and do this to solve some problems. And then you can say, if it's public or social innovation, then you might say that the aim of developing innovative solutions, that is to create public value, which is or social value, which is in itself, as I said before, a very complex concept. I'll return to how it can be defined in a minute. But my point is here just to say that when we have these complex problems, then we need to have collaboration or co-creation to solve these problems. So it requires that many types of actors, they get together in trying to deal with these complex problems. And of course you can say that sometimes these processes are really difficult, because it entails conflict sometimes between the engaged actors, and sometimes it's more easy, it can be more consensual. From a research point of view, it's really important to study how collaboration can take place. And another thing which is also, in my opinion, important is that when you have innovation where you engage actors from different sectors, the public, the private, and the social, for example, then you get this phenomenon of layered management and coordination, where you use principles of management and coordination that stems from different sectors, in a way that you can have, for example, entrepreneurship as something that comes into both the social and the public sector, and you have maybe still public management going on if it's in the public sector, and then you have also more kind of private principles of profit seeking and so on. So you have this kind of layered management and coordination going on. Sometimes it's also called hybrid organizations, where principles of management from different sectors, they are sort of merged into a hybrid phenomenon, which is also something which is really difficult. Before I come to an example, this is then about the more, you could call it, the systemic aspects of it. What is the role of public sector then, if you talk about social and public innovation? Normally you would say that the public sector is maybe the owner of many of these innovations, at least those that happen in the public sector. But when we speak of social innovation, there are also other roles that the public sector can take. It can be sort of a commissioner of innovation. You know that from the social sector, how the public sector is funding social innovations that are supposed to solve societal problems. In Denmark, we have many different funding mechanisms that can fund voluntary organizations, for example, or can support specific innovative activities. So quite often the public sector, or maybe increasingly, the public sector is commissioning innovation rather than owning them, commissioning them to other actors like social actors, which often have a different approach to innovation. They are more in the same level as those that these innovations target. They are they can look them into the eye, and they can take different kinds of approaches to innovation. And then, of course, the public sector can also orchestrate innovation, can put people together, and in discussions about how what are the needs for innovation, how can we solve problems. You can think of, for example, COP 26, where we had the British and the Italian government putting a lot of organizations together about the climate, where this was pretty much driven by public sector, but the public sector is more kind of an orchestrator of different voices in the innovation process. In Denmark, we have some researchers in my university that have been looking at municipalities and how municipalities can be engaged in orchestrating innovation. Often the municipality of Gentofte, north of Copenhagen, has been mentioned as a very good example of a municipality that has tried to involve citizens in problem solution by having workshops with them and bring up solutions for concrete problem solution, which has then been adopted by the municipality. So that's a different role. And then, of course, the public sector is also a sense maker, is framing what are the issues of innovation, what are the important problems that we need to discuss, often together with others. Here is an example of kind of a social public innovation. Maybe you have heard of that before. Anyone have heard about it? It's cycling without age. It was a guy called Ole Kassow. You can even see there's a TED talk where he presents this innovation. He was passing by a nursing home in Copenhagen, and he saw elderly people outside that home with their walkers, and he thought maybe I could offer them a new service. I could take them on a ride on a trickshaw, and then offer them some wind in the hair to visit some of the neighborhoods where they grew up. And so he knocked on the door of this nursing home, and there was someone who opened the door, and he asked them if that would be a good idea. And they said they had to think a little bit to be sure whether it was a good idea or not to put an elderly person together with a stranger on a bike. But they said, yes, okay, we can try. We have even a volunteer here. His name was Torkil, I think. And we just have one condition, and that is that we have one of our nursing staff with you on the bicycle to be sure that you return this person after. And so it was a very successful event, and Torkil was very excited. He talked to the rest of the nursing home about it. And so they called him the next day and asked him to repeat the event, because there were other volunteers there who also wanted to go on this trip with him. And so one day it was too much for Ole Kassow. So he called the municipality. He had some friends in the municipality asking them if they couldn't they sponsor this? Couldn't they somehow also give bicycles to nursing homes and so on, so that other municipalities could also, or other nursing homes could also have the benefit of this. And so gradually this developed into to a big social movement called Cycling Without Age, and it has spread to I think the whole of Denmark, more or less all municipalities in Denmark, they have it today. It also spread to Norway. I think he presented it on a municipal conference in Norway, and it has spread to Italy, the UK, many countries around the world, maybe also to Sweden, I'm not sure. Maybe it has, yes. So I think what is interesting here is, for example, you could say that you have the different roles of the public sector here, as an owner of it maybe, but also as commissioning this service to a voluntary organization, also helping them to make sense of it, framing what is this about. And maybe not so much orchestration in this case. But you can also see how this is kind of a layered decision-making process. It started as kind of an entrepreneurial initiative. Ole Kassow as an entrepreneur, just having an idea, knocking on the door, asking if this was a good idea. And also having the willpower to carry this out into practice. So there was a lot of entrepreneurship in this social innovation, but there was also a readiness on part of the public sector, the municipality. First, it was the concrete nursing home to take this on board. So there was, and they made sure that it was done in a good way according to the rules of not getting away with this person and throwing him into the harbor or something like that. So there was kind of a public management, and they were ready to also go with this entrepreneur that knocked on the door. Then it was very user-centric. It was about this guy Torkil and the excitement of those in the nursing homes doing this. And then there was also a great deal of bricolage, or sort of using what was already available in a way, combining things that were there and could be combined in a new way to do this innovation. Yes? Okay, it's going so fast, yeah. So yeah, I have to jump over some of my slides. Anyway, it was 2 minutes. Yeah, fine. Free. Okay. So I just want to say a little bit about the concept of public value. Also, it would be the same as social value. I think social and public value. It's almost the same. So it has a duality in it. It's about what the public values on the one hand, what people like, but it's also about what adds value to the public sphere in a way. So you can see that this can be two different things. It can be what the people in the nursing home, what they like, but it should also be something that adds value. It should spread, for example, to other nursing homes. It should be an idea that benefits society, and where public managers are also involved in, and politicians are involved in deciding whether this is a good idea or not. Yeah, so I just jump a little bit over this, and I go to this final one about assembly. Because I think, given that many social innovations are complex innovation that requires co-creation amongst many actors and layered decision-making processes, it's really important to get together, to have places where people can meet and do innovations together. Is the next lecture that starts already? Yeah, okay, it disappeared. It's just, yeah, no problem. So, for example, I have currently a project on libraries. I think libraries, they have developed into something different today. It's really a place of, you can see here there's a manifestum for the library. In the old days, libraries were about books, you borrow books, but today they have reframed the whole idea of the library more kind of as a place. It's kind of where people, they can meet, they can talk, they can do things together, they can do social innovation and so on together. Aarhus Library is in Denmark is a very good case of this. So finding ways to get together. This is a different case we work with in it's a small fishing city up in northern Jutland, where we worked together with citizens. It was residents that were there, and it was the second home owners trying to create an arena where people could get together to try to develop this city, because it was a fishing city, but there was no fishing anymore. So they wanted to develop this into something new and sort of get together and try to solve problems together is really important. And it's also about systemic innovation, you could say. It's not just about having the single small innovations. It's also about trying to spread these innovation and to have social impact in a way, which is something which is really, really important when we speak innovation, where it's important that you can somehow engage with not just with solving a specific problems, but also doing some impact on social institutions and policy making and so on, which is, I think, a part of social innovation that is really important. So now my final one here, I can see you are eager to get to the next event. That just a final remark that collaborative, co-creative innovation, really important. It merges in the context of complex challenges, and we need to do, researchers, we have to figure out what are the places then of assembly where these innovations can emerge. And that was my final slide.
Thank you, Lars. Keep the mic for a while, Lars. I just wanted to ask you, just short, but you mentioned that innovation is always contested.
Yes.
And maybe that's a lecture in itself, but I just wondered if you could elaborate a bit on that.
Yeah.
Because in Sweden, normally we dodge for conflicts. Maybe it is so that we should seek conflicts. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the idea that that innovation is contested, it was what we wrote about in this book, and yeah, it's not always consensual. That's the idea. That it's about engaging different voices that sometimes are not consensual, you could say, but nevertheless they have to be in a constructive dialogue with one another. So you have to transform antagonism to constructive relationships. But it's not so that you can. There can be different. People usually have different interests in innovation. They have different levels of energy. Some get frustrated by the process. And people do not like the results sometimes. So you have to just be aware that it's a contested practice. Also, the definition of public innovation that I gave you, that it's a trade-off sometimes between discussions about what we like, what we really want to have. For example, the wind turbines is a big discussion now in Denmark. We don't want them because they are noisy and they disturb the view that we have over the sea. So people, they don't want, or solar panels for that matter. So the public do not want it, but they do add value to the public sphere in a way, because they are a new way of providing renewable energy. But again, it can be discussed whether they do so. But so it's about this constructive dialogue and being aware that there are different interests.
So maybe a final note is not to dodge away from all the constructive dialogue.
No,
Not be
that's
afraid
true.
of.
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah,
It's about establishing a constructive dialogue. And the library is a very nice place for that, I would say. Yeah.
Lars, thank you so very much again. Coming.